In this Republican Party that values total fealty, it's not often we see a Republican senator rebuke his own side of the aisle to the detriment of his entire career, but we saw it here.
That between the state-directed payments and the cuts scheduled in this bill, there's a reduction of state-directed payments. And then there's the reduction of the provider tax. They can't find a hole in my estimate. So what they told me is that, yeah, it's rough, but North Carolina's used the system. They're going to have to make it work. All right. So what do I tell 663,000 people in 2 years or 3 years when President Trump breaks his promise by pushing them off of Medicaid because the funding's not there anymore, guys? In the White House, senators advising the president are not telling him that the effect of this bill is to break a promise. And you know the last time I saw a promise broken around health care, with respect to my friends on the other side of the aisle, it's when somebody said, if you like your health care, you can keep it. If you like your doctor, you can keep it. We found out that wasn't true. That made me the second Republican Speaker of the House since the Civil War, ladies and gentlemen, because we betrayed the promise to the American people. 2 years later, 3 years later, it actually made me a U.S. Senator because in 2010, it had just been proposed. And just anticipation of what was going to happen was enough to have a sea change election that swept Republicans into the majority for the second time in 100 years. Now, Republicans are about to make a mistake on health care and betraying a promise. It is inescapable that this bill in its current form will betray the very promise that Donald J. Trump made in the Oval Office or in the cabinet room when I was there with finance, where he said we can go after waste, fraud, and abuse on any programs.
That was Republican Senator Tom Tillis excoriating the Republican budget bill that will, as Tillis himself concedes, break a promise that Trump made to the American people not to go after their health care and specifically Medicaid. And that's a promise, by the way, that this White House continues to peddle even despite the absolute glaring evidence to the contrary. Here are a few examples of what I mean.
This bill strengthens Medicaid. It will protect those benefits that hardworking Americans need, and that's why the president wants this bill to pass.
And we're going to also cut costs. We're cutting $1.7 trillion in this bill, and you're not going to feel any of it. And your Medicaid is left alone. It's left the same. Your Medicare and your Social Security are strengthened. We're not cutting. The Democrats are going to destroy all three of them because it's not sustainable. They'll end up cutting your Medicare, Medicaid in half.
Look, you've got a number of provisions. We want to make sure that we hold by our commitment that we are not cutting Medicaid. The president has said that, and I've said that.
But the reality is that no matter how many times Republicans insist in bad faith that this bill won't have an impact on healthcare, won't have an impact on Medicaid, it will. The CBO has scored the latest version of this bill. It will strip healthcare away to the tune of $1.1 trillion. That's trillion with a T. That means somewhere in the ballpark of 12 million Americans losing their health care. And we're talking about Medicaid. Do you know who takes advantage of Medicaid? Children, low-income seniors, people with disabilities. These are the most vulnerable among us. Republicans are fucking over the people who already have the least, all to offset a tax cut, a massive tax cut for billionaires. This is the biggest wealth transfer from the poor to the rich in American history. All of which Elizabeth Warren pointed out in our latest interview.
So the latest, because the Republicans have added more this and more that to try to make sure they've got all their members covered, is that the cuts to Medicaid, remember that's little babies, people with disabilities, seniors in nursing homes, cuts to Medicaid will be almost just shy of $1 trillion. And then there will be cuts to Medicare on top of that. Again, also that billionaires can get tax breaks. Jeff Bezos really needs that right now with his $50 million wedding going on. There's one more analysis that has now come out, and that is if these cuts go through, 1 out of every 4 nursing homes in the country is expected to close. Not not suffer, not struggle, close. And think about what that means. We already have waiting lists for nursing homes, are already struggling with seniors who need care, and particularly seniors who have outrun their savings. And that's what is getting cut in this bill. Nearly $1 trillion in cuts to Medicaid and more cuts to Medicare, taking away health care from millions of seniors, taking away health care from people with disabilities, taking away health care from little babies. That's what it's all about for the Republicans right now.
So when Tom Tillis says that, quote, it is inescapable that millions of people will be kicked off their health care, he's telling the truth. You cannot strip funding to the tune of $1 trillion and expect the systems that fund Medicaid to service the amount of people they service right now. The math simply does not work. And let's be clear, Republicans know that it doesn't work, but A, they don't give a shit because none of them are on Medicaid because the average net worth of a U.S. senator is over $1 million, so they'll be fine and their families will be fine. And B, they know the impacts are far enough away that they think they can skate by without any political consequences. The full breadth of the cuts won't even take effect until a couple of years, and when that day finally comes, they are banking on Americans not really knowing why it's happening or who's to blame. They'll never say that it's because of the big beautiful bill that's passing right now. They'll claim that it's because of the Democrats or Joe Biden or some other excuse, some other scapegoat, but they need to buy that time for themselves, which is exactly what they've done with this bill. But of course, you can't expect any other Republicans to tell the truth because there's no incentive. The blowback for Tom Tillis was so severe that the guy literally had to announce that he was not running for re-election. This stance cost him his job. What other Republican senator basically wants to trade away their power, their influence, their income just to take a principled stand? None. So the only other option, then, is to toe the Trump line and play make-believe and spew bullshit like this.
This bill strengthens Medicaid. It will protect those benefits that hardworking Americans need, and that's why the president wants this bill to pass.
And that's what they'll do, because there is a cost to telling the truth in today's Republican Party, and that's a cost that virtually none of them are willing to pay. Before you go, if you enjoyed this content and you want to see more and support independent media, please subscribe to this channel. The subscribe button will be right here on the screen. But second, the reality is that we are now in a political environment where this administration can lean on any of the social media platforms to suppress certain voices if they don't like critical coverage. That means my longevity here is in the hands of a few tech billionaires who are already making it clear that they are willing to cater to this administration. To that end, signing up for my newsletter is a way for me to reach you directly if that ever becomes necessary. I'll put the link right here on the screen as well, so please sign up. It's free, but there's also an option to do a paid subscription if you'd like to support me and my team. I really appreciate it. Thanks so much for watching.